meeting with pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Robert May's here. Michael Fritz is here. Greg Wall is here. Allison Lineback, the manager's here. Derek Rose, Road Master's here. David Eggert's here. Dee Geibel's here. Corey Zana is here. The mayor. Pamela Stevens, is she en route?
She said like closer to 8 o'clock.
Okay. Amanda is here, our secretary. The Reverend's here. Warren's here. Our solicitor Joan is here. Motion. Is there a motion to approve on August 8, 2024 Borough Council meeting minutes, or are there any revisions, corrections, or can the minutes be accepted as presented?
Motion to accept the minutes as presented. Second.
Motion been moved, seconded to accept the minutes as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Approval and payment of bills. Before you'll see payment of bills, consolidated bills from the general fund, $92,281.47. The sewer fund is $11,487.38. Liquid fuels is $1,240.33. Fire tax fund is $69.38. EMS tax fund is $48.90. Is there a motion to approve the consolidated bills as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Approval of treasurer's report. Before you see the consolidated treasurer's report for August, our fund balances as of August 31st was general fund had $542,253.30. Liquid fuels had $255,769.71. Fire tax fund has $5,357.62. EMS tax fund has $1,176.24. Sewer fund has $225,615.51. Reserve accounts have $95,628.03. Is there a motion to accept and file for audit the consolidated treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded to accept and file the audit, the consolidated treasurer's report. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Public comment? Are you here to address council?
I am, thank
Could you please state your name real clearly for the minutes?
Sure, it's Amy Dola, D-O-L-A. So I'm wondering what's going on with this factory down here, this abandoned factory?
Oh, the,
Old wolf bleach and dye.
wolf bleach and dye.
Yes, so.
I think there's always someone coming and asking about zoning and things like that, but I've noticed as I drive by, more and more plywood seems to be peeling off.
There's also more and more kids playing there.
Oh.
Every single day.
Interesting.
There's, so I know my son's friends and him, even though I've told him not to, they go play in there all the time. So the one day my husband and I decided to walk down just to see what it was all about, and it really should be.
Secured more?
It should be secured more. There's really only one no trespassing sign, and it's really only this big. Every door is open. There's broken glass everywhere. There's drug paraphernalia. Now there's a pickup truck down there with a key inside of it that they've been turning
Interesting.
on, and that's fairly new.
So under Borough Code, usually the mayor is in charge of the police department, but we have contract with Central Berks. But Mayor, could you contact the police chief?
Yes,
Say we have complaints, because once we can get some sort of police report in action, then we can go back with other communication to the owners and stuff like
I
that.
know they've been there. My son is he's a brutally honest kid. He tells me everything that goes on. That's why I know what's going on. I know the police have gone down there and they addressed some of the children to be careful, whatever. I know there's raccoons living in there. There's all kinds of stuff in there. So
Yeah,
it's really
it's becoming a nuisance.
It
Right.
really needs to be either gated off or torn down, or something needs to be done. Somebody's gonna get hurt. There's huge. The floor's not. We walk through. It's dark, so we walk through with a flashlight just to see what it's about.
What the attraction is.
It's because it's an abandoned building and they get away with it, and there's graffiti everywhere, but there's holes in the floor, there's huge gaps that they jump over.
It's probably been abandoned how many years? 20 years? Not in use, let me not say abandoned. Not in use for 20-some years? Maybe 30?
It's 20.
20.
It was shortly after I
Yeah.
started that they closed down.
So, let's see if we can get that first from, and then if he can come back and basically tell us it's a public nuisance because it's causing all these other things, or every time you see someone down there, just call the police on emergency and say, hey, there's some suspicious activity occurring at such and such.
I'm just more worried somebody's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
It's really falling apart. The floorboards are falling down on the second floor. Somebody's gonna fall down there and really get hurt, and I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I don't want anybody to have to be responsible for that. I don't know who still owns it or.
On the solicitor chime in, I think we have a better opportunity to declare it a public nuisance once we have the police report back to us
Right.
that they consider it in a state that it's attracting perhaps unlawful activities and things like that.
Right, that's the epitome of what is an attractive nuisance, when you have children and teenagers going in and out of there. and when there's unsafe and unsanitary conditions, that's what a nuisance is and declared a nuisance is. On and off, we've contacted the owners, and the situation would improve temporarily, but I think getting the police to look into the situation and make a report is wise.
So Amy, you were actually inside the building?
Yeah, we walked in. We just wanted.
Is this on YouTube anywhere?
No, but I'm sure I could get plenty of video. My son has pictures of it, like, but yes, we've been in it. Every door is open. It's odd because there's padlocks on all the doors, but they're not, like,
Locked?
they're not locked. Like, the padlock goes through and it's hanging on the outside, but they're all locked. Every door is open. We walked in there, we actually startled, there were 4 kids in there, it was not mine, but we walked in on them having sex, and they kind of, we startled them, and they screamed, and then they ran, and then I was like, well, do you still, I didn't want to go in. I was like, well, let's go and walk around and see what's going on, because we wouldn't know what the attraction was. We're like, what are these kids coming down here? What are they seeing? And what can they get into? I mean, I'm more worried about someone down there dealing drugs and my kid walking in on it and getting hurt by that. Like, that's my concern. I tell them stay away, don't go in there. I know all of my son's friends' parents have the same concern, but to them it's this huge attraction, and they know they're getting away with something, but they're not really hurting anybody's property. So to them, it's okay to play there. We walked in, then the kids that were there sort of hid around the corner. It's kind of like a horseshoe shape, so they were like down around the other end, and then we walked into the other side of the building, and then they were like, oh, can we go back in? And I was like, well, no, you shouldn't be here at all. Like, you shouldn't. I mean, I think we scared them because we were adults, because usually there's kids there. And I think they were like, oh, we're gonna be in trouble because of that. But the whole building is filled with broken glass. You can tell it flooded at one point. There's all kinds of mud in there, like thick mud.
Probably from last year.
Yeah, I mean, there's used needles, there's heroin baggies, there's beer bottles, beer cans, liquor bottles. I mean, all that stuff is there. Like I said, there's a raccoon living in there. There's a family of raccoons. I'm worried about somebody getting bit by a raccoon, quite honestly.
Well, there's no cat feral following yet, so.
That's just a matter of time. And, I don't know if when it gets cold, who knows if there's gonna be somebody down there living there, to get out of, we had a guy living in the woods next to our house for like 3 months, and we eventually called the police and we're like, this guy needs to go. He would sit there and kind of look at my house, and I was kind of freaked out by it.
Mm-hmm.
So they came and they took him away, but it's just a matter of time until he comes down there. So, I don't really care that the building's there. I don't want somebody to get hurt. I certainly don't want my kid to get hurt. We keep telling them don't go there, but to them it's like, it's a playground, and that's where they want to go.
Mayor, would you just ask the chief to have, especially on the afternoon shift, to have at least 2 stop-bys or something, or to have an increased presence for at least a week every, and to the point that they may, we may win that will of attraction on the short term.
We need to contact you.
Yeah. John, do you still have the contact for that? Because we've sent mail to them before. Threatening letters, can you?
Well, police,
Yeah.
the 2 brothers,
They don't own it.
They don't own it anymore.
It's 4
So we have
owners after that.
Yeah, we have a current.
Yeah, if you can get me the current.
We have a current information.
And conjure up
Yeah.
a citizen complaint, council takes very seriously, and, our expectation is to follow the property maintenance code, and enforcement action, can be forthcoming. There's some legal words, wordsmith that.
It would probably be very similar to what I had sent to the Temple Brothers in the past.
Yep.
So what are the steps that we go through after it's declared a nuisance? And then, is there any course to where we could actually force something to happen to the building, to demolish, or?
They're under the International Property Maintenance Code. There is a procedure for an unsafe structure to be demolished. To have, now that procedure doesn't require a court order. I wouldn't demolish a building without a court order, so I would want to go into court in addition to taking those steps. But there is a procedure that starts with notice, if the conditions aren't remediated and a remediation plan isn't put into place, then the building's placarded as unfit for human habitation and secure. If nothing is done after a certain period of time, you can go to court, for showing you've taken those steps and asking for an order for demolition. There have to be certain notice steps that need to be taken.
Okay, so, but there is a course of action,
There's
if,
a
I mean,
course
that's
of-
not
there's a
what I'd
course of
like to
action.
do, because I'm sure there's a lot of cost involved. in that.
There would be a lot of costs involved. In addition to the cost of demolition itself, demolition and removal of the structure, there may need to be special handling of some of the materials.
It's
As
fire.
an industrial-
And a lien against the property probably wouldn't cover
Or
that,
a lien against the property is.
wouldn't cover anywhere near the
It
cost.
puts a cloud on the title, and if they sell it, then you get it paid, but, it's not the best,
Right.
the best solution.
Yeah.
Voluntary compliance is the best solution.
Yeah, part of the problem with that area, it's in the floodplain, and so therefore, to build something there is gonna be very, very difficult or expensive. So I guess people do have some ideas what they think they can do until they dig deeper into the regulations, and sometimes I think that discourages them. But there's certainly, they're responsible to keep it up, and if it's not inhabited, to keep it secure, and we can pressure that.
And I don't know about the car, it's according to my kid, that pickup truck is fairly new. It just was put there the other day.
Ooh,
Like
is that a
license-
license plate or anything on it?
I did not see a license plate on it, but
Mayor.
the key was sitting in the car. Like they
Yeah.
literally turned the car on and, you know.
All vehicles are supposed to be licensed in the borough, correct? You can't have like a project car sitting in your backyard without it being licensed.
It started up. They
Yeah, but
started
if it
up.
doesn't have a license on it, now we have action to get rid of it
I mean, I'm sure there's a VIN number on it somewhere. I'm
Yeah.
sure you can find out who owns the car.
via the police. Police can go call tow truck,
Yep.
adios.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So-
right, it's like around the back, like when you go around the
Yeah.
back.
Well, it's not visible
Yeah.
from parking.
Yeah,
No,
technically,
no,
we,
it was around the back of the building, yeah.
technically, we don't have really a right to enter private property to enforce things like that, but when there's, we direct the police to go look at that because of concerns, they can walk all over the place and report back to us, and we can try to push other things that are available at that point.
I mean, you could probably see it from the townhomes.
Yeah.
Like if you come in, we came in from this street, Walnut Street here, but if you walk in the town, I'm sure the people in the townhomes can probably see the car.
I'm sure the police department will be responsive because there seems to be an immediate danger here for
Yeah, I mean,
anybody, and I would dissuade anybody, kids or parents, from going in the building because you don't know what you're walking on.
yeah, I mean,
Why don't you see?
I wanted to know what was, I was like, what's the attraction here, what are you seeing? And I'm like, and I keep telling them, there's no, like, you should not be going in this building, it's private property, and I keep saying, the police are gonna come, you're gonna get arrested, and the police have never been there, according to him, but.
Well, now you give warning.
So now I want the police to come, quite honestly, I want them to
Yeah.
tell these kids to stop going there and, make a presence there. I don't want my son arrested, but I want them to, I want them to be scared. I want them to know that it's not-
And Mayor, would you be prepared to tell us at next month's report, like, they were there this many times this day, this is what they did? A
Absolutely.
little bit more fleshed out report, so,
Okay, thank you.
all right,
That's all I wanted.
thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good
And
day.
thank you for coming.
Yes,
Well,
appreciate it.
Borough engineer is not here yet, so we'll move to the solicitor's report.
Okay, as far as the PUC decision, it's reflected correctly in the agenda, no appeals filed because I was directed not to file an appeal.
So let me interrupt, so when I read this thing, I came and thought we were getting pushed into a new rate. I asked Allison to read it, she sort of concluded that, but it was a little fuzzy whether we were getting pushed into the $2.40 per 100 gallon as compared to the 42 or 43 cents per gallon.
Right.
So Joan was able to get another updated
Rate sheet.
decision or the
Yeah.
rate sheet from them, and clearly we were not in that.
We're in the $10,000 a month charge.
Right.
Yeah, we're getting the customer charge, but not,
So when she was able to get that, we called off the dogs on the
Yeah.
PUC, appeal and stuff like that.
Okay.
right, yeah, it would not have been.
We still need to converse with PA America.
Yeah, and we can talk about that. The other item I have is the assessment appeal hearings. I'll be appearing as directed at the assessment appeal hearing for 3150 St. Lawrence Avenue. That'll be September 18th at 1:45. It looked as though I was going to have to send other coverage that I at this point, it looks like I will be the one attending that. With assessment appeals, with the larger commercial appeals, it's generally advisable for the borough to participate. The school district usually participates because they have a greater interest in it. But with the larger commercial and even some of the larger residential appeals, it makes sense.
As a general rule of thumb, I'm sorry again, we typically have always sent the solicitor to represent us at these appeals, not for residential though, but only commercial.
That was a motion a couple years
Years ago,
ago.
that was our intent on these things, so I'm just trying to clarify.
Right, so it has already been authorized. I think it was even authorized at the last meeting, but I will be appearing. The assessed valuation that is under appeal is $265,000. $265,500. Owner is Marcid USA LLC.
Mr. Giannotti.
Mr. Giannotti, okay. Other than that, the other items are addressed elsewhere in the agenda, and also I see an executive session for those items.
Thank you. Bear?
Okay, so I attended the police commission meeting on September 5th. There really was not a lot that really pertained to us. They're trying to hire a new executive assistant. They're gonna put an SRO officer in Ole. Ole will pay for that totally. And it was reported that their 2024 audit was clean, which is the highest level you can receive. Meeting was adjourned, and the next meeting will be October 3rd. So I will, for this recent account, I will address the police chief, see what answers I can get, and as far as the reporting back, we might have him call Allison to give the report on how many times they were there, what they found,
Sure.
things like that. But I'm hoping we can maybe get the factory to at least shore up their building.
In the past, we'd have some success talking to the owners and the owner's attorney. We would talk, they would go in, they would secure the structure. Hopefully that happens again with this owner.
Derek has worked with the new owner.
I'm gonna say, I think about 4 months ago, I sent an email to him about securing the building,
Okay.
based off of his visuals driving by, and he said he was gonna take care of it. And he had said he had sent someone there within that time frame, and it looked like they did some work, but clearly whatever work they did was not sufficient. 'Cause
Yes.
Maybe they forgot to unlock the locks.
It's in bad
Yeah,
shape.
could you please send me that?
I can send
you
you
an
an
email.
email
Contact
responding.
information.
That whole building is in bad shape, and at some point, council's choice to go forward on total enforcement on that is to acknowledge that there is going to be significant expense.
Yeah.
Because the person who owns it, I don't think he was applying for one of the FEMA loans from the flooding. You know, what status that's in, what they can and can't do, or how they can proceed. That because it's fully in the floodplain, that also involves the zoning hearing board for a lot of anything more than boarding up. Any type of improvement going forward involves the zoning hearing board.
It does, because the zoning hearing board sits as the appeal board for the floodplain determinations. And the criteria, if you think the criteria for getting a zoning variance are difficult, the criteria for getting a floodplain variance is far more difficult. You have to show that it's not going to cumulatively or on its own increase the base flood elevation over time, I forget the exact time period, by more than, I think, a couple of inches over, I think it's a 10-year period, and that's with other development. So it is very difficult to get any kind of a floodplain variance under those standards.
Okay, we have path forward. Thanks, Mayor. Anything from zoning, local code enforcement?
We've had success with some of the initial stuff that has gone out. So we're working with individuals to make sure that it continues to go forward.
Okay,
May I inquire as to 2934,
I cannot talk about any specific property.
right, if you drive by, you may notice some changes.
It's.
I'm sorry?
If you drive by, you may notice changes.
I drove by yesterday, I didn't see
Right,
it.
Oh.
me too.
Huh?
I did too, I didn't see any change.
Oh, interesting.
Did they throw one thing away?
I thought there was now a path there, but I will, Fine.
Oh, there's a path from
There's
the
a
top
path.
steps to the front door.
That's
Everything else,
starting to get,
that has been there,
mhm,
so.
not letting it go.
they're starting to put stuff in the way.
I did
again.
notice coming downhill, that side of the house seems to be cleared up, but everything else. is-
Slow,
is
just
still
slow,
Bulky.
yeah.
We're trying to work with them
I get it.
to,
As
but.
we should,
It makes
as we
sense.
should, yes.
Yeah, we can't discuss any particular property in the midst of any kind of enforcement process.
When there's enforcement process, it's basically ongoing litigation. I mean, it's the equivalent of it.
And that shields it from right to know too also, does it not?
That's because of an investigation, I mean,
Yeah.
it is.
Public safety, emergency management, anything new?
Yeah, I attended a web EOC training, end of August. It's a new system that they're using Commonwealth-wide for reporting of any incidents. The interesting part about it is you can now put events in there. Upcoming 100th anniversary type events. You notify basically the local, the county emergency manager, who then lets people know on this date at this location, we're gonna have an event, may draw this many people. Because believe it or not, the Department of Homeland Security wants to be informed of any event where you may have 500 or more people attending. It used to be 1,000, they dropped it to 500. So when we finalize some plans, I can enter that in the web EOC. It's just basically an advisory kind of thing. But it's combined reporting of the event along with damage assessments. It pulled together a number of different programs they were using under one umbrella. That's pretty convenient and very easy to use.
Would you have to apply for a permit?
No,
No.
no, we're,
I think it's just to
Just
spread information out on
it's
one
an
one
advisory,
platform.
that way the dispatch center knows we're having something going on that day.
Mhm.
It's entirely possible that the PD might reach out and say, we want to use one of the disaster talk groups to coordinate everything. And then, the radios that we have here have those talk groups in it. The police, fire, EMS all have a talk group, so they do that a lot at like the Hamburger Festival in Hamburg. The big events they hold around the county, Cookstown Fair, all use that kind of setup. And it just gives everybody a heads up, this is going on in St. Lawrence. They get calls about traffic or noise or anything like that, they know what's going on. Yeah.
You
Great,
mentioned
okay.
fire department. I had a question posed to me at another meeting I attended. Where are we at with the agreement or contract with Mount Penn and Exeter Fire? Is there anything that the respective departments need to do at this point?
That
Does it have reopeners in it, or is it open every year?
is not every year. I think that,
I forget what year we're
I
at.
Yeah.
think next year,
Yeah, I think it's still in effect till,
next year,
And in
we,
2025.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, everything is going next year. Police in the middle of the summer, trash, fire,
Fire,
yeah,
Yeah, it's
because
next year.
we have nothing to do in the middle of the summer.
And ironically, the person that asked was Gottschall.
one of my favorite county employees.
Yeah,
But-
because we
He's a member of it.
we have the whole setup because it was the tax.
And what's it to him anyway?
He's,
He's inquiring minds want to know?
no, he's a member of our board of directors.
Oh, okay. Public Works.
Attached is my report, a couple key items. First item would be they started the first phase of Seal Coat project for 2024. They did the chip seals on all the roads. They're planning on coming back the last week in September to finish up the slurry seal, which will complete the cape seal process. They should be back, if not tomorrow, early next week, to sweep up all the loose stones on all the roads that the project was done on. Med Ed is starting to move forward with what they have called their 901 project. That's the project where they're gonna remove all the towers off the mountain, basically from here all the way through Ole. I was at a pre-construction meeting on Tuesday involving that. They're still seemingly in the infancy of this. They don't have a lot of their key details nailed down. Their scope of work is still involving Bridge Street for their access up on the mountain to take out the tower, and Church Lane to get up on the other side of our property. But they don't have everything lined up with all the property owners for access, so that's still an evolving situation. Two other things that are under under the public works sector here. We received a quote from Telco for rewiring Perkiomen Avenue at St. Lawrence Avenue, because there's apparently a short in that wire that strings overhead from pole to pole from it naturally degrading over time, rubbing against each other. So what happens is that blows out one of the load circuits inside the box, and it causes Telco to come out and reset the box and then put a new load circuit in. So that would be the cost to just redo the overhead cable. Alice and I have spoken about putting this into a bigger project, replacing the pole that's at McDonald's. If anyone's seen that, it's a large mast that's very outdated.
It's part of the problem.
Yeah, and then on
How's
top,
that whole part of the problem?
It was a jury rigged pole to begin with. When they did it, they cobbled it together.
But this was under the pavement of the Perkiomen, right? Or was this, when the work was done, it got acceptable because the state paid for it, or did we pay
No,
for it?
we paid.
so that pole has been there since the 70s.
That's the
60s?
original pole that went in, and when we had issues before, and then when Green Light Go came in and the new heads went on, they had to reconfigure those poles to make attachments to be able to handle the weight of the heads that were now up there. It's a question of how much money you put in before you look at replacing the pole, changing the way it's wired, changing the way the lights hang, because anytime we get any kind of wind, that pole, the connections may go and they'll jury rig it again. And at some point, it should be replaced.
So they want $6,500 just to replace the cable.
Yeah, that's just the overhead cable.
Right.
Basically.
And what would it cost to replace the pole
So
for the new, right?
I'm waiting on a quote from Telco on that. I quoted them, or asked them about a month ago to get a quote on that. And I'll also go with underground wiring instead of overhead wiring.
To replace the underground wiring?
Well, right now,
No,
it's
go
overhead.
with-
Make it overhead, make it on the camera system.
No,
No.
to take the overhead away and go underground,
Yeah.
to eliminate the problem with overhead wiring.
So that's that. And then, the backdoor ramp, we discussed a couple months ago about there being an issue with the backdoor ramp. I had put a concept on Warren's desk there. There's a couple of printouts there, just for a concept of what a new ramp would look like. We're trying to get that in place by the time of election day. And essentially it would involve a ramp going perpendicular to the building instead of away from the building, and just having a step down.
And
in the
railings.
parking- And railings.
How much does it cost, I'm sorry, how much does it cost every time Telco comes out to replace the
So
board or chip in the controller when it shorts?
if it's
No hand.
overtime rate, I think it's $300 to $400.
How many times has it happened in like the last 3 months? Once a month?
I would say maybe, I'm gonna say in the past year, maybe 3 times.
Okay.
So it's
I'm
not gonna
just-
happen all the time.
I'm just trying to judge the urgency of maybe how much money would we be willing to spend to do all that?
Generally, it seems to only happen on higher wind events, which we seem to be not having those right now. Can't guarantee that going forward yet.
If we authorize this, would it be wasted money if you come back and replace the pole later?
It would be in the long run, I guess, especially if we want the underground route, which would eliminate all these problems down the road.
Yeah. So it behooves us just to wait for their other.
We could wait till the next quote to see how much,
Yeah.
they didn't know how much a pole would cost, so I just wanted to see how much that would be.
And
They're
that
in the traffic business, they know how much a pole costs.
Well, that pole is in a weird position, and it could fail at any time.
That would be our advantage.
So we don't need the pole if we go underground.
What?
We don't need the pole if we go underground, right?
Yeah, you need
No,
somebody.
the whole-
The signals.
Yeah, the pole holds the signal.
Oh, it was actually the signal too.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can, ask if, after our next council meeting, well, let's back up.
Well, I'll put it to you.
How long will it take to get a poll? They don't know yet. So are we like 60, 90 days out or something like that?
And say, these are all questions they have to present to me.
Gotcha.
But I can say that next council meeting, you'll have an idea of how much a new pole and underground wiring will cost versus just doing the overhead wiring.
All I'm trying to judge is it worth buying the pole now and waiting to get the total bid for everything, just to get it in process. I'm still having supply issues on stuff I buy for
Well, I
work.
guess one thing to run into is if this trips over, if it does, I don't know how much it's gonna cost, if it trips over the bidding threshold, then we.
It's only an audit. Aren't they on CoStars?
It depends on who they get it, who they're getting.
I'm not sure.
The whole thing's for CoStar. They're CoStars, aren't they?
See, CoStars has different levels too, they could only be CoStars for service, not.
Right, and they could also be
It's
something
just-
like co-stars for certain items.
Well,
too.
it's service. It's replacing a bad pole.
Right, now you have to check the individual good or service.
Please try to have all that sorted out for us next meeting. How that sound?
Just back to where you were on before the ramp back there, if we can't have a permanent solution by election day, we should at least maybe paint the slope sides yellow or
Right,
something
okay, yeah.
of the ramp.
I mean, I'm hoping to have that done by mid-October.
Okay.
So I mean, this
Oh,
is,
you- okay.
the premise of this would be more of a temporary solution until we figure out what we wanna do with the back door in its entirety, because the back door is
Oh, all right. So
in need
you-
replacement.
Okay, it's just gonna be a temporary,
So the temporary would be in that concept where basically we would just put blacktop in and
Yeah.
level the ramp off in that concept, and then see how it works, and if we like it, we can move forward with something that would be more
but
permanent.
you're still gonna have edges that somebody might step on.
Well, that's gonna be a brand, we still put in like a brand.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
What do you think? It's gonna be under $5,000, something like that?
I would shoot for around 1,000.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll move on. Library, anything new, Mike?
Not worth mentioning, no.
All right, joint comp plan?
Yeah, the group for the joint comprehensive, just to remind everybody, we are in a joint comprehensive, plan development with Amity, Douglas, Exeter, and St. Lawrence. And, it was it got delayed by
The
5 years?
over 6 months
The
or
funding.
on funding, that they didn't get the grant money, so that so they finally got the grant money, and we had our first meeting, about a week ago. There's some interesting statistics that came, I'll send it to all the council members, about the various different communities, and, it's got what their population is, what their average income is, just all sorts of statistics about it. There's also a schedule that this is to be completed by January of '26, and that's to meet the requirements of the grant, to get that all done. One of the things they're looking to do is to survey the residents about what they view the important things are for the community.
Gotcha.
And there's several examples, I can also send you those, of other joint plans that were done, and how those communities survey their population. So I don't know how much we're gonna have involved being, we don't have any real development or anything. One of the things Allison brought up at the last meeting was public transportation, and that was raised as one of the things they wanted to have included in this joint plan. Not just because of bus service and stuff, but, because we talked about Pottstown and its bus service versus Barta and things like that, but also with the potential of a train system and possibly a network of parking lot and busing to the train station and things like that. So they were looking at stuff like that to be part of looking at the comp plan. So that's pretty much where we left it. Our next meeting isn't until, it's gonna be once a month is October 3rd. They'd like to have, if we're gonna do a survey, they'd like each community to do a survey. I haven't gotten it yet from them, exactly a format from them, but as soon as I get it, I can forward it to.
Amanda, what would it cost us if we included, 2-page insert into our next newsletter, postage paid for a survey?
Cost-wise?
Well, how much would be the mailing? It's gonna cost us just
It's whatever.
$100, something like that? Do you think that would be sufficient if we sent the questionnaire out?
Well, that was one of the
Yeah.
things they said, is like.
In a newsletter, and then be postpaid, and then, come back.
How many questions are they gonna ask? Because the only time we ever had a survey response was when we stuck postcards with stamps on
Yeah, I mean,
into,
this is like what a survey was before. I mean, one of the other ones, this is
Yeah.
one which was Lauredale and Muhlenberg's,
because chances of getting them back.
Yeah, I know. I think they said they got something like 35 back or something.
Yeah.
And they-
Or they'll scan it and email it back to you.
Can't we just give it when they are doing their elections, because there's gonna be lines and people waiting for an hour to vote anyway. While they're waiting in the election lines.
There you go.
We could put them on the table.
Yeah.
We can't.
So at your next meeting, can you discuss some of these ideas we had and see?
Well, yeah, they're
They're gonna
looking
be
for
ready to move.
feedback as to what we want to do by November 7th.
Oh,
And then after the election,
They need to move faster.
yeah, so,
Well, maybe,
It's,
we could, if you could have an agreement on what the questions are and how many they are, maybe we'll just go forward on these ideas like having it laying here at the election and stuff like that. And then that'll be a test case once everything else gets finalized.
it may be better if they have one questionnaire accessed through our the county
Yeah.
website.
That's exactly what was being proposed, that you could go to the county and then you could put in your municipality and you would get your questions for your municipality.
I don't answer anything like that unless I get a reward.
And that was also.
What was that gonna be, like an Amazon card or something?
We won't raise your taxes more than.
So, they were gonna put out minutes of the meeting, and I was waiting for that. I was hoping I'd get that before I came here, so I could, but, I checked this evening and it still hasn't arrived.
Take our feedback with them and see what they think.
Yeah, okay.
Ms. Valance, anything new? No. Recreation, anything new?
Nope.
Let me circle back up from Roadmaster. So when they go up and tear the towers down, which could be like 6 or 12 months down the road, you think, they're gonna probably have to widen the, fire trails in order to get their equipment up there?
That was a route that was proposed to them.
Right.
And I do wanna say this method, or their timeline right now is to be here within the month of logging.
Oh, so they have to get approval by Berks County Conservation District, and then we have to notify Berks Nature of this stuff going on,
Where they're gonna be.
where they're gonna be.
And say, we had a gentleman stop in that I'm assuming was part of their land agent program. And then I had spoken with the company that's doing the work, which is JW Dado.
Can they provide us like a drawing of where they're going through or something like that?
And say my hope was them to get back to us to see,
Well, we sort of need that in order to meet our other contractual obligations.
yes.
Is their intention to basically clear cut the whole right of way all the way up to the top of the mountain?
At this point, wherever the towers are, their intentions were to clear cut tower to tower, so wherever they're accessing in, not
They have to
necessarily.
just get to the tower, but not between the two towers?
Correct, so like, for instance, if you're here at like this tower, then the next tower is at the top of the hill going towards Church Lane, they won't do that section. That's what I've
They're
understood.
gonna come from both ends,
Yeah.
because that's just where we're mountain law.
Correct, yeah, so their one section of access would be here off of Stoner, Ridge Street, and their next section of access would be off of Church Lane and Daughtry.
Yeah. Well,
Do they get the
they
trees?
already have basically cut all the way to here, right? I mean, they took the lines down to the one tower. And that's the last tower before it gets all the way up to Church Lane.
Yeah,
So they already clear cut that.
so they've already done it.
Oh yeah, they pretty much cleared that.
This recent?
Well, back when they took the line out.
Well, They have to get big equipment in
Yeah.
there,
Yeah, I mean,
because they're
maybe
going
they
to
could
actually
do some
cut
cleaning,
the
but,
towers. and-
because they had to get to the tower to disconnect the lines that they already took down.
Okay, so this isn't a part of this phase of this project, where they're
Right.
coming to take the towers out.
Who gets the trees?
I believe they leave them behind. They chip anything and then leave.
Is that in our best interest, MLS like that? These are questions we'll have to talk.
Yeah, well, but Berks Nature and stuff will probably wanna have an input in it.
We already gave them a heads up on it, so we, waiting on them to go forth, so.
Okay, so they've been contacted, Berks Nature?
Yeah, but full disclosure, I used to work with the executive director of Berks Nature, Andy Fetterman.
Yeah,
And I also used to work with Dean Druckenmiller, who's executive director of the Berks County Conservation District. So I made a preliminary call to both of them. I think I left a message. Said, hey, this is all going on. Sooner or later, we gotta get you guys on board.
good, excellent.
So. Planning commission. Oh, did you do recreation? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, planning commission.
I don't think
Nothing
we
good.
have anything at this point, do
We
we?
will have, after all the motions are done, the need for a new member to the planning.
Oh, right,
commission.
right, I did see that.
You guys have a recommendation coming out of the planning commission for that?
I just saw this,
Okay.
This will all happen very quickly.
Yeah,
I just became aware of it hours ago or so, when I first started reading the minutes.
Zoning hearing board,
We'll
we
be,
have a meeting on October 8th and solicitor will be there for us.
Okay,
We also need another member for that.
Oh, you need another member for zoning hearing? Do we have a
Yes.
candidate?
Yes, that's part of
it's
the,
a part of the motions.
Okay. So, hold on, solicitor. And then, we'll move down to the general comments, public meeting announcements. All public meetings will be at St. Lawrence Borough Hall, zoning hearing board meeting, and changes to office hours in Yard Waste Borough office closed October 14th. What's that, Columbus Day?
Yes.
It's another holiday?
It is now.
Yard waste collection Tuesday, October 16th, okay. And let us go back to,
Can I add something on the general comment?
well, oh, go ahead.
Or is there, yeah, I had a discussion with Allison a few weeks ago. There is a home in, I think the address is 4007 St. Lawrence Avenue, that is flying a political flag that has the F word on it. Literally 50 feet from a bus stop where Reichton school kids stand in the morning and are dropped off at night. I understand we can't force them to take it down.
That's right, under the First Amendment, that is considered protected speech, even though it is not nice to use those words around children.
Right, and when the flag is hanging dormant, it's very visible. If the wind is blowing, it's not so easy to see. I was told that as a taxpayer, I would have every right to respectfully ask them to take it down. What I don't want to do is go on their property to do that. Sometimes I see this individual out on Trout Street. I have not since. I respectfully ask the borough to send them a letter asking them respectfully to remove the flag, mainly because of those kids that stand there twice a day, 5 days a week, with the potential of, and they can read, of being subject to that.
I think some of the kids stand there, if you probably had a listening device, you probably hear some of the words that's on the flag. But I don't think we have any jurisdiction to send any type of letter like that.
I would not be comfortable, because of First Amendment rights of citizens, when it's not inciting violence or violent overthrow, to send that type of letter, even if it's asking for voluntary compliance. It has the coercive power of the borough behind it, or that's what they would say if a suit were filed. I don't think that kind of language in political matters is good, but I also believe that it is protected speech.
I'll ask you after the fact.
All right. Engineer, had a report for us?
Yes.
Excellent.
It's in your packets. I know you just had mentioned, to attend at all, or is Allison, authorized to attend?
I have to, I'm the zoning
In
officer.
other words, you don't need me to attend, because we already went through all that with the
Yeah.
planning commission and the council, and you're good, and I saw the motion later on,
Yeah,
do you need then Joan to attend?
Joan needs to attend because they're not going to have a lawyer, they're going to have a sign person. We wanna make sure, because what was reviewed by them included the signs on the side of the buildings, and what council made a motion to send to the letter to the zoning hearing board was for everything except for those two end signs. One sign doesn't exist now, so they did not want that to ever exist on the upper end. And on the lower end is the laundromat sign, which would be grandfathered as long as the use does not change from a laundromat.
Yeah, what we'll do is, as the date gets closer, you and I will prepare, because I'll put on some brief testimony from you, and most likely, if they're bringing the sign expert, I'll want to ask some questions. It doesn't sound like it's a particularly hostile matter, simply to get clarification and get appropriate conditions, if there's
Yeah,
going to be an approval.
It's basically the planning commission reviewed, council reviewed, it's everything except they didn't look at what council had approved, which was, the exception was those two end signs.
All right,
Otherwise, it is exactly what,
what the planning
Yeah.
commission had
Yeah.
passed on to council, correct? Okay, so that's clear. Unfortunately, the municipal league did not, have a grant, I believe it was through, to have the floodplain ordinance reviewed, so we're just gonna sort of table that for now until,
It's fine.
yeah.
it's nothing urgent, and
Yeah,
we don't have any.
The real big thing in that floodplain is that basically we take the zoning hearing board out of all decisions and send them to FEMA.
Right.
That's the big part of what changes.
And I don't think she'll really have a problem with that because of your previous conversations with FEMA.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So just so you know, that's on hold. Moving on to the Moore grant, you were successful, congratulations, you got the full amount. Because the liaison contacted me, and what she explained is that put money in each category. And if you don't use it, it keeps rolling to the next category, keeps rolling to the next category. So you do the energy audit first, and then you get preliminary designs as a grant, also grant money. And there's absolutely no output money from the Borough Council, it's 100% grant.
Good job. Very good. What is the origin of the Moore grant money? So it's not like gambling money, is it?
No, this is through, fantastic.
Federal,
It's
some
through-
sort of federal
it's through-
program?
It's through DEP, but it's the Pennsylvania Energy Commission, and then it trickles through, and this division of DEP is the one that is earmarked to be the liaison. Okay?
Outstanding. I signed that, so they asked for my signature, so it's in, so.
But they only asked for mine yesterday morning, and I didn't even get into that email yet.
Okay, I know.
Was there something else that was more important than $50,000? You couldn't send that back?
Council meeting.
Copy for the meeting, yeah. So, once the agreement's signed, then we can be authorized to proceed, and then, as I said, each category can keep rolling the money, each of those are, we did them as not to exceed, but if we come under each of the categories, that would be great, so that's our goal. And then the way I drive in, I drove by 3400 St. Lawrence Avenue, the former, Borough Hall, and saw 4 vehicles parked there now. And this particular applicant that I attached, the scoping application, in it is listed 9 two-bedroom apartments is what they're proposing there. So that would be 18 spaces. Exactly.
Old Borough Hall. I had a conversation with the gentleman. He stopped into my office unexpectedly at 11:30 on a Friday morning.
So, does he understand?
He understands, we talked several options, and he said he's never been in a place that had such a, I forget what word he used, the burdensome of having 3 parking spaces per unit. And I said, well,
Even if they waive it to 2, there's
I
still
said,
can't show more than 18 in there.
you're talking about St. Lawrence Avenue has no parking. Holy Turnpike Road there is already parked full in the evenings. I said, so you would have 2-bedroom apartments, 9 of them, and you don't expect that the second bedroom is being used by somebody who can drive, or that there aren't 2 cars in the family. I said, and that nobody's ever going to visit anybody in these apartments, nor are they going to have any packages delivered or the mailman to come.
Maybe we're
No,
wondering
I
about
think
taxing
It's
that.
not a long road to hoe. You know?
So he talked
That's
about trying to do, and I said, I looked at the plan he presented for the width of the driveway, and I said, I really don't think that meets our ordinance for 2-way
Well, again, that's a state highway, so unless it's,
inside the driveway interior.
I didn't even see the plan, so I can't.
Well,
And
yeah,
let me guess, the number of units he wants 9, the whole project's not economical unless he has 9.
that is correct.
Okay.
And we keep explaining.
I've been on that side of the table.
Yeah.
So I just included that for information so that you know
Yeah.
that's being considered. And then, last, unfortunately, there was a sewage complaint called directly to DEP. And since you have.
We told them to.
Yeah, okay, and since you have a local SEO, then the SEO should have investigated it either yesterday or today, and then we will give you an update.
So currently in the borough, there's probably 3 properties that are not hooked into the sanitary sewer system,
Mhm.
that actually have a septic tank and a leach field. And so when you get odors like that out of the septic field, I don't know if any of you guys ever lived with something like that. It's typically some issue with the septic tank getting overwhelmed with groundwater infiltration.
Or, because it might be near the creek, the leach field may be having.
Saturated and not,
High
yeah.
groundwater table, correct.
So a lot of places have, a lot of septic fields, they have to pump out the tank once a year and do some sort of inspection to the SEO or something. So this is all getting thrown over to our SEO officer and let them do their stuff.
You got it. So I will keep you apprised of that situation, and that, unless there's any questions, that's all I have this evening.
So let me just paraphrase. So a lot of times if there's a lot of, it seems that DEP hates septic systems because they're never really maintained well. And then if they know that, you know, there's a public sewer nearby, there's a lot of pressure put on people to hook up the public sewer, no matter the cost. So that's the incentive for the homeowner to try to keep their system working correctly.
And especially if it is discharging, potentially discharging or could, even though the DEP investigation didn't see anything. But the potential is there to pollute the waters of the Commonwealth because the creek's right there, so.
Are these properties on public water?
I think so.
I'm not sure if
170 North Bingham.
it's across the creek, so
It's
I'm
on
not
the
even.
postal side of the creek.
Oh,
If I remember, I'm going back a long way. When I bought my house, the sewer line behind it had recently been put in. We were not connected. I had a septic system. But I was paying a sewer rate to the borough
Because of
based
the
on-
water.
because the sewer was available based on the water. I don't know if these people were, but I was paying both the
But you're
sewer,
not-
even though I had a septic system.
Neat.
Within a year, I got rid of the septic because I didn't want it. Not because of the fee, but because I didn't want it. I could smell it in my backyard.
That's what was in, if you read it, there's a definite malodor.
Yeah, at certain times, after heavy rain and stuff.
And now we've been in a drought for about the last 2-3 weeks, you know, there'll be less probably obnoxious odors and things like that because the ground's dry. So.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, I had a question.
Sure.
Help me understand, Warren. Years ago when we had road programs, we ended up doing micro surfacing, is that what it's called, micro?
There's different names for it.
Yeah, where we didn't shoot and ship just sealer and stones, because we thought it was a better deal, or it lasted longer, or something like that. So I was a little annoyed that when I drove on the streets, that's what we're back doing, is the seal and stone.
Well, there are upgrades to the product, and if it's a very low ADT, then there's a final application called a fog seal. And what that does is it's another oily, asphalt coating that then really knits everything in, and it really looks beautiful. And that's because the vehicles aren't there to just mush all of the aggregate.
Is this the micro finishing you're talking about?
It's still the same, PennDOT has different
Yeah.
terms. They could be double application, single application, but ultimately, if you don't have enough ADT to help it knit in, you do a fog seal. That's now been coming up in a lot of cul-de-sacs that happens. And
I thought we did it because at one point we used to put sand down over the seal and everybody yelled about that, and then the stones, and then that became another big issue, people tracked in their house. So I thought at one point we said, always go to the micro finishing because there is no real stone coverage or something like that when they seal it, is that correct? Or there's a fine stone or something?
there's fine.
But it sort of embeds it, doesn't track as much as the other stones, it's not as dusty, I think.
And plus, they are supposed to, what I call vacuum, give it time, but then vacuum so that there's not as much mess and MS4 in case there are rainfalls for that tiny aggregate to get into your storm sewer system. So it's a combination of the contractor doing his part too.
Is there a vast difference in cost between?
I could get you we have put a lot out to bid this year in our various municipalities, and if you'd like, I can put together all the bid costs of all the different products we had for the various municipalities. And one other thing, there is a wearing course that is just less than an inch. So you get, it's considered maintenance.
Ultra thin.
The ultra thin wearing course. We had, when I was at Lower Heidelberg, we had that installed on, if any of you travel paper mill between Brownsville or Reaversville and Spring Township near the Great Bridge, that was done with the ultra thin. And if you've driven it, it's holding up beautifully. So there are options for different things, especially we don't want to touch ADA ramps. That was the real reason why we stayed away, because now the ADA ramps are averaging about $7,000. So, Mr. Prince.
Do you remember any, I could have swore we had a presentation by some engineer
I
here,
remember presentation, but I can't remember the details.
but I remember it was all driven by these other complaints, so I'm just trying to get council up and board. If we finish this year, maybe next year we'll maybe circle back on something else or
And
see
so-
what the cost
Just to
are.
look at it,
Yeah.
see how it,
Yeah.
I mean, it goes right down the side of my property. It's like,
I could have swore the last couple times we did was the micro, and we didn't have the complaints and everything like that.
Yeah, as I said, there's.
Has anybody complained this year, Amanda?
no, we're not doing it.
Someone called and asked when they were gonna
You get
reseal,
better
that was it.
Yeah.
She was just gonna.
You get better traffic.
You're not finished with this yet.
No.
Once again, I'm getting too old, but I remember the micro finishing. They came, they did it, and that was it. They never come back. It was-
This process, the Cape Seal, is a multi-step process.
Oh,
Right, there's
So
another process to go over.
I got you.
Tomorrow or Monday.
They suck up the
They're
stones.
gonna come and and sweep.
Well, the stones aren't gonna come up, they're stuck down in there.
No, the loose ones.
Any
Yeah,
of
we're
those
the
ones.
loose
The
ones.
ones that get rid of the loose
Seal
ones,
it again,
And then they.
and then they stone it again.
No,
No,
Oh,
they
we're
seal
done.
it and that's it.
I have a silly question. What do they do once they sweep up the stone? What do they do with the stones they capture?
I believe we keep that, so we'll have that as extra aggregate. I guess we could also send that back with them if we wanted to pay the stone.
Can you use it to
What about
patch
is-
holes in alleyways? Like
Could-
9,
Could you form up your ramp and put it down in there and then put the asphalt on top?
like the alley that
No
runs off the
compactability,
back
it's gonna wash right out.
towards the bottom. I noticed someone put stone towards the Ganster side, some white stone.
Oh, wait, okay, so that's a private alley.
Yeah,
But the one,
they're having to finish.
actually behind the house.
That's private.
Thank
That's also private.
Yeah.
They're all private
Coming
alleys.
behind.
Please help educate us in the next couple of months.
You would,
Sure, I'll put together a
What do you
report
call that?
with the
You would
different
drop
costs
it
of
off.
applications
Yeah.
and,
Because my neighbors,
what
you got any extra stone?
dirt roads, could,
Yeah.
be utilized and very cost effective. But again, you have all low travel, low ADT roads in
Yeah.
your community.
So, we need to go into executive session and talk about a few things, business, perhaps land purchase and perhaps some litigation. Would you rather go and do all the new business first, get the motions out of the way? That way, that sort of would end the meeting and we don't have to come back and do things like that. So I will now go to new business. Is there a motion to accept the resignation of Dorothy Juransky from the Jurazinski from the zoning hearing board?
Motion to accept the resignation of Dorothy Jarozinski from the zoning hearing board.
Second. Motion been moved and seconded to accept the resignation of Dorothy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Is there a motion to accept the resignation of Tracy Whitman from the planning commission?
Correction on the spelling, her name is Y, not I. But I'll make the motion to accept the resignation of Tracy Whitman from the planning commission.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded to accept the resignation of Tracy Whitman from the planning commission. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. To adopt resolution 900-2024, appointing Tracy with a Y Whitman to the zoning hearing board, fulfilling Dorothy Jurazinski's term ending December 31st, 2026.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 900-2024, appointing Tracy Whitman to the zoning hearing board, fulfilling Dorothy Jarozinski's term ending December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Is there a motion to send a letter to the zoning hearing board recommending the approval of the Antietam Valley Shopping Center master sign plan as presented to Borough Council with the following exceptions? Not permit the end units to have signs on the side of the buildings, and to permit the laundromat sign on the lower end unit to be grandfathered until the use of the unit changes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion moved and seconded about sending a letter to the zoning hearing board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Is there a motion to approve resolution 899-2024, adopting the Halloween curfew, setting the following: trick-or-treat nights are October 30th and 31st from 5 to 8 p.m., and curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. from Sunday, October 20th, until Sunday, November 3rd, for anyone under 18 years old, not accompanied by an adult, parent, or guardian, with an exception of those going to or from a place of employment or school activity.
Motion to adopt resolution 899-2024, adopting Halloween curfew set as follows.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye for the trick-or-treat.
Aye.
Aye. Number 6, motion to approve resolution 901-2024 to enter into a copier lease for 63 months with Fraser Advanced Information System at a fixed rate of $367.41 a month, including toner, service calls, parts labor, buyout, old lease, return of old copier, 1,000 black and white, and 2,000 color copies. What is that, per month?
That is put in as a cost per month,
Okay.
and any overages will be settled up.
And 80 cents and 59 cents per the
Right.
motion.
Can you carry over if you don't use 1,000?
Use them or lose them.
Use them or lose them.
It's use them or lose them, which is why on this lease, we reduce the number of color copies. And they will do a settle up after 6 months, so the settle up is on the total number as opposed to, and that way then we pay, and it's less than a penny for black and white, and it's 5.5 cents for color.
Yeah, and is that basically the same rate that's in the contract?
Now?
No, no.
All
You're
you
paying so much for the 1,000 and the 2,000.
The 1,000 and the 2,000 are included in that monthly price.
Yeah.
This is the established price for any additional copies, so. But
yeah,
that
I'm
is-
aware of that, but it, okay, I'll phrase it another way. If instead of 1,000 black and white, you had 2,000 black and white, what would be the increase? And then, that's what I'm trying to get at, is what is the dollar?
It would be this, it just take 1,000 times the .008.
Okay, so it is the same?
It
Okay,
is the same.
Okay, that's what I'm sorry. I
base
missed
rate for copies.
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution 901-2024, copier lease for 63 months with Fraser Advanced Information Systems as set forth in the agenda.
Second.
Motion been moved and second about the copier lease. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Is there a motion to approve a monthly reimbursement of health insurance premiums, Medicare, prescription, supplemental, and dental, vision, hearing insurance for manager Allison Linebaugh, currently totaling $356.64 per month.
per month.
And that is because you are off our other plan
That
for
is correct.
employees. And if you were on the other plan per employee, what would that be? What would the borough be paying to have you on our plan for other employees?
$1,593.26. I actually brought this, wanted that this brought up because the fact that one of the few perks we offer as an employer is the health coverage. And since Allison went on Medicare at 65, we're no longer covering her on our insurance plan. So I thought it would be the right thing to do to reimburse her for any of her costs. So, you know, and it's, $356.64 a month.
Is that after they take the 200 and some out of Medicare? So right now, you would have to pay Medicare $250 some.
I paid Medicare
Oh.
170, Gabe has it.
Yeah, 174.70.
So the 170 goes to the third party person plus the 356.64.
No,
No, the
that's the total.
174 is the 356.64. So the UNC supplements in 122.13, 59.31 for dental, vision, hearing, 50 cents for well care, it's prescriptions, and then the Medicare is 174.70. That's the total.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion moved and seconded to approve the monthly reimbursement for the manager. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I oppose. Motion passes. Motion to disperse a 50-50 split, the state aid 2024 volunteer fire relief allocation of $10,484.30, which would be $5,242.15 each to Mount Penn Fire Company Relief Association and Exeter Volunteer Fire Relief Association.
So moved.
Second. Motion been moved and seconded to split the disbursement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
It won't be dispersed till after we get them on the 18th.
No problem. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'm just gonna say that, make a motion to go into executive session.
Who needs to stay? I don't need to stay.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Second.
Motion moved. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're going into executive session. solicitor to, work on a, potential land acquisition project, and move forward on a potential litigation, problem too.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been moved second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion moved in second. All those in favor to adjourn, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. I'm highly disappointed